Hello, welcome to HITC Sport, and yeah, Newcastle are the richest club on planet Earth. I still can't believe it. So let's take a look at every Premier League club and find the one player linked with Newcastle this week. And just grade how likely it is to actually happen. Alright, let's go. Arsenal, Rob Holding, 4 to 10. Okay, so why is Rob Holding still linked with Newcastle? I mean, why? Yes, Steve Bruce wanted to bring him from Arsenal on loan, but that was when the club was being run by a man who'd probably only open his wallet for something if it was covered in 3 tons of salt. The club's been crying out for a new training ground. No, instead, let's whip out the credit card of Burger King. Rob Holding is a dull as dishwater cardboard centre half. Honestly, just thinking about his face, it's about as exciting as a constipated pigeon. Yes, Newcastle desperately need reinforcements. I mean, looking at their collection of misfit defenders at the club, they look a bit like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Christ, but when I think of Matt Ritchie, I don't think Premier League proven top left wing back. No, I think of Piglet from Winnie the Pooh. Holding, yes, would be an upgrade at centre back, but when you've got all the money in the world, don't continue to use the same shopping list from 2020. Christ, but when Leona Lewis won the X Factor, I mean, do you think she continued to rifle through the bins outside Costa Coffee for her lunch? Newcastle, if you make this guy your first marquee signing, the Geordies will silently feel like getting sick in their throat. Aston Villa, Matty Cash, 5 out of 10. December will be 9 years since Newcastle United signed an actually competent right back, which is a horrifically disgusting statistic. I mean, there have been brief, tenuous links to Matty Cash at Villa Park. Yeah, I know he looks like a greasy Jack Grealish lookalike, someone who looks like he combs his hair with a knife and fork. But lads, the 24-year-old is a quality attacking wing back. I mean, the guy is currently one of the most creative players in the Premier League, and he's soon going to be Poland's #1 right back, whipping in crosses for Robert Lewandowski in Qatar next Christmas. Just you wait and see. Shove in a £30 million bid. That would make him the 3rd most expensive departure in the history of Villa Park. I mean, they're not going to reject that bid unless they've got brains made of cheese. And how fitting would it be for Newcastle if their first signing under this regime was called Cash. Brentford, Ivan Toney, 3 out of 10. Okay, right now, the big centre forward for Newcastle is Mauro Icardi. A talented striker, sure, but due to his wife, is probably the biggest headache in football. He is the epitome of high maintenance. Can you really see a plastic prima donna like him agreeing to replace Andy Carroll? I know, and instead signing a striker from Brentford FC, returning for a player that Newcastle dumped on loan at Shrewsbury, Scunthorpe and Wigan. Oh, on paper, that sounds about as sexy as dissecting the bowels of a rat with gonorrhea. Yeah, people like when Man City fans were dreaming of world stars in 2009 and were greeted with the low-key signing of Rocky Santa Cruz from Blackburn. About as underwhelming as Theo Baker's hair transplant, but this would actually be a statement of intent. Weirdly. I mean, the new board are already trying to correct the wrongs from the previous regime. You know, like moving Alan Shearer's statue from outside Tesco's, actually acknowledging Kevin Keegan in the ground, getting rid of Steve Bruce. So why not also remedy the stupid decision to sell an England goal machine to Peterborough? Brighton, Tariq Lamptey, 4 out of 10. Yeah, just like Matty Cash, here we've got another exciting, pacey young right-wing back linked with Newcastle. You know, yeah, the 21-year-old was a standout player for Brighton last season, but can we please calm the hype? I know he spent over 10 years at Chelsea, but lads, right now, he can't even get in the Brighton starting 11. He missed the first month of the season with a hamstring injury, but he's been fit since early September, and yet has rotted on the bench 3 games in a row. Graham Potter, he is clearly a fan of the guy, and if he gets the Newcastle job, then maybe this could happen. But right now, considering he's out in the wilderness, watching a porridge fullback like Joel Veltman take his place, then a move to the richest club on planet Earth, bit premature. Burnley, James Tarkowski, 9 out of 10. This is going to happen, I'm convinced of it. There's no Premier League footballer as heavily linked with Newcastle right now as James Tarkowski. I mean, let's be honest, Tarkowski would rather iron his own ball sack than spend another season of his life at Turf Moor. There's a guy who's seen the likes of Leicester and West Ham continually try to rescue him from mid-table mediocrity with Burnley. Sure, Sean Dyche has done a lot for Tarkowski's career, but is this guy really going to be content with just 2 England caps to his name? I mean, Newcastle, they're not going to start dragging in world-class centre-halves already, just like when Man City had to bring in low-key defenders like Julian Lescott and Colo Toure. I mean, don't forget, John Terry laughed Mark Hughes' job offer out of the building. So yeah, a £35 million move for Tarkowski. It does make sense. Chelsea, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, 5 out of 10. Ruben Loftus-Cheek turns 26 in January. Sorry, what? This fella, it only feels like 5 minutes ago that Jose Mourinho was apparently bullying a teenage Chelsea wonder kid. Well, now the guy's halfway to 50 and has barely had a sniff at Stamford Bridge. I think Jose might have been right. Listen, considering he was a walking slice of toast at Fulham last season, getting limply relegated, that a move to Newcastle, it probably wouldn't have Geordies dancing in the streets, but he would be an upgrade on probably every centre midfielder at the club. The guy needs first-team football to force his way back into the England squad. Maybe a £15 million move. Maybe. Crystal Palace, Wilfred Zaha, 9 out of 10. This is a transfer that needs to happen for the beauty of football. Right now, we've got Darren Bent urging Newcastle to sign Wilfred Zaha. Without a shadow of a doubt, this needs to happen. Zaha is one of the most gifted footballers in England. In my eyes, he is more naturally talented with the ball on his feet than Raheem Sterling. I'm convinced had Sir Alex Ferguson stuck around at Old Trafford, instead of giving his job to a Scottish sweat stain like David Moyes, then Ronaldo would have had to politely ask Zaha for his number 7 shirt in the summer. I'm convinced he'd be the modern day Ryan Giggs at that club. If Zaha spends his entire career stuck at Sellers Park, continuing to languish on the bottom half of the Premier League, then it's a crime against football. Christ, he's just seen his former colleague Andros Townsend. I mean, Zaha's got more dribbling ability in his teeth than in Townsend's entire body, and yet he's the one who's got the big move to Everton. It's not fair. This is Zaha's last chance. Chuck in a £30 million bid, stick him in an opposite wing with Alan Saint-Maximin, and you'd already be creating the second coming of the entertainers. Drag Brendan Rodgers in from Leicester, make him the modern day Kevin Keegan, and with Zaha, Saint-Maximin and Wilson in the front line, that would be the modern day Sterling Suarez. I might actually need a change of pants. Everton, Mason Holgate 4 out of 10. Okay, Newcastle are wanting to go back to the defensively sound days of Rafa Benitez, right? Then why are the papers saying they're sniffing around a centre back who Rafa clearly has no interest in? Mason Holgate has been trapped on the Everton bench for 5 Premier League games this season. There is a reason Holgate is 24 and never been capped by England. Holgate is a dull as mustard defender. No, Newcastle, you can do better. Leeds, KALVIN Phillips 3 out of 10. I'm gonna shut this one down immediately. Homegrown Leeds midfield idol KALVIN Phillips. Him choosing to chuck all of that legacy in the bin to go and move 20 miles up the road to Newcastle, utterly vandalizing his relationship with his hometown club forever, with his Leeds United legacy flushed down a milky toilet bowl. If Phillips leaves Ellen Road, it'll be to throw himself into immediate title race with one of the Manchester clubs, not agreeing to partner Sean Longstaff in midfield for 6 months. No! Leicester, Yuri Tielemans 2 out of 10. 2 seasons ago, Leicester City stuck 9 goals past Newcastle in one single season. Good Christ, in the game at St James's Park, Brendan Rodgers' men dominated 77% of the ball. Offer Yuri Tielemans the chance to move to Newcastle then, and he'd sooner have eaten his own face. But how quickly things change. The Belgian midfielder is out of contract in the summer of 2023, but would he do it? He's 24 years old, he's already moved to an ambitious project in Leicester, and just cemented himself as one of their modern day legends, smashing in that FA Cup final winning goal against Chelsea. Is he really going to want a sideways move to another team ambitiously trying to crack the top 4? If he leaves Leicester, it's gonna be for a massive signing on fee at Bayern Munich or Real Madrid, not to a team still trying to scrape Steve Bruce's sweat out of his office chair. Liverpool, Kostas Tsimikas 7 out of 10. This makes sense. I think Kostas Tsimikas has proven that he's actually a pretty good 25-year-old left back, and were it not for Andy Robertson, this fella would be a modern day Greek fan favourite at Anfield. I mean, Newcastle by comparison, in recent years, have been forced to pick wet donuts like Danny Rose at left back. Finally, offer the Geordies a competent, defensively sound fullback who can actually complete 2 tackles in a row. Give them someone who can successfully cross the halfway line and stick it across without blood immediately pouring from their nose. Honestly, a £20 million move for Tsimikas for the Geordies would be utterly beautiful. You'd be a first choice left back in this project for the next 6 years of his life. Go out and get Tsimikas. Man City, Raheem Sterling 1 out of 10. This would be ludicrous, utterly ridiculous. This would be on par with when Man City signed a 24-year-old Robinho and agreeing to stick him in a team with a bunch of error-prone ham sandwiches. Do you think he enjoyed that? No, within 2 years he was running back to Brazil. Raheem Sterling at Newcastle United, it will be disgusting. I've heard some people, mainly Lawrence Bovey, I've heard him state that Sterling isn't world class. And not only that, hinting that he's just another Demarai Gray who's been impersonating a top class footballer at Man City for the last 6 years. What a way to speak about someone who should be a club legend. Lads, were it not for Sergio Aguero, Sterling would be Man City's club record goal scorer. What is this? The guy's got 115 goals and 88 assists in 302 games for Man City. And yet, according to some people, he's just a walking stick man with the end product of an empty ketchup bottle. No, Sterling, he's 26 years old, got 3 Premier League winners' medals in his pocket, and was one of the best players at Euro 2020. He should not be replacing Jacob Murphy on the right wing. He should not be stuck in the same dressing room as Paul Dummett and Fabian Schär. Sure, you could offer him 400k a week, but I'm sorry. The second he starts waiting for a bowl of soup in the canteen and sees Jeff Hendrick and Dwight Gale in the queue, it feel like signing on down the dole. Sterling should not be stuck in the early stages of a project. Right, so he was desperate to quit Liverpool when they were in the Champions League. This would never happen. I mean, don't get me wrong. Sterling would probably sell the most Newcastle shirts as Michael Owen. The Geordies would initially queue up to lick his feet. It'd be a bit like when a Chelsea superstar like Damien Duff moved to St James's Park and utterly crippled his own career. Sterling is top class when he has a team of already made superstars around him. But chuck his £400,000 a week wages into a frustrating team low on quality, depending on service from human gingerbread men like Joe Willock. And soon, when he's stuck on 7 league goals by March, his confidence would disappear and it wouldn't be a good atmosphere. This should never happen. Man United, Anthony Martial, 3 out of 10. Make no mistake about it, this would be a superstar signing. Right now, Anthony Martial is heavily linked with the move to Newcastle. A front three of Callum Wilson, Alisson Maximin, and Martial. That's enough to make Geordie sweat through their mouth. There is no doubt that this 25-year-old is an exceptionally talented forward. It was only 2 seasons ago he was scoring 23 goals in a single season for Man United. But a move to a Newcastle project, it just doesn't seem right. Yes, he'd be utterly worshipped by the Geordies, but I don't see it. I mean, it depends on who the next Newcastle manager is. A big name like Antonio Conte might convince Martial to come, but I'm sorry, if it's some wet weasel like Graham Potter standing in the dugout, Martial would probably rather bite off his own tongue than step foot in that medical room. Norwich, Max Aarons, 5 out of 10. I mean, this makes sense. Max Aarons, he's been linked with a big money move away from Norwich for years. First of all, apparently he's only inches away from a move to Barcelona. Not bad for a 21-year-old who's about 9th choice England right back. Newcastle need defenders. A move for an exciting, up-and-coming, young British defender to rescue him from the misery and pitfalls of Norwich. On paper, it sounds good, but it didn't really work out too well for Jamal Lewis. I mean, he's since wound up to be a big plate of wet scrambled egg. Go back 2 years ago, when Newcastle were slapped at Carrow Road, with Timu Pukki bagging a hat-trick. Oh, the Geordie fans, they were impressed by both Norwich full-backs.
I'll begin with Emil Croft, who was making his debut, and I thought he was torn to shreds. In particular, first half of Joe Lewis was just ripping him apart. The kid, the left-back, looks like a star. We talked about Max Aarons, but this lad as well could go far as well. They've got some promising youngsters here at Norwich.
So maybe, but I mean, 2 Norwich fullbacks who got relegated? Not a good look for the richest club on planet Earth. Southampton, nobody. I don't know why, but the papers haven't linked Newcastle with any Southampton players. Not sure why. Tottenham, Harry Kane, 1 out of 10.
Harry Kane and Kylian Mbappe within reach for Magpies.
This was written by 442 staff. Oh, okay, so who wrote this then? The 15-year-old intern who snuck onto the editor's computer? Harry Kane to Newcastle. What? Right now, Harry Kane is so starved of trophies that he's prepared to sacrifice becoming Tottenham's record goal scorer to go and win trophies at someone like Man City. So why then would he choose to go and move to Newcastle, a club who've already got a statue devoted to Alan Shearer? I mean, do you really think the Geordies are going to be cheering on this guy to overtake Shearer in the all-time Premier League goal scorer? No! No! If Kane moves, it'll be to a finished project like Man City, to instantly win trophies. First of all, this is like when Man City tried to rival Man United for Dimitar Berbatov from Tottenham within 3 hours of the takeover going through. Clearly, he didn't want to play in a team with Wayne Bridge. Watford has made a Sarr 7 out of 10. Again, this could happen. Apparently, Newcastle tried to buy Ismaila Sarr from Rennes 2 years ago, and before that, tried to sign him as a teenager from Metz in 2017. So under the old regime, this transfer would have made sense. I guess he'd still be a decent £30 million addition on the wing. I mean, he's definitely an upgrade on a walking Jaffa cake like Ryan Fraser. I mean, why not? I mean, I can't imagine Claudio Ranieri's tactics of free pizza will tap into Sarr's ambition. West Ham, Thomas Tuchel, 5 out of 10. Yeah, Newcastle are apparently linked with West Ham's modern day version of Marouane Fellaini. No, I can't see this one happening. Wolves, Adama Traore, 1 out of 10. When is Adama Traore not getting linked with a move away from Wolves? I'm sorry, the guy looks the part, but he cannot score a goal to save his life. Do you really think a £50 million winger with goal scoring efforts of a wet toothbrush is going to appeal to the Newcastle owners? No? Anyway, that's it. Let me know what do you think? Have I got this all wrong? Let me know in the comments below. Enjoy the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and as always, I'll talk to you in a while.